What if I told you that your mind is not entirely your own? That hidden forces, both internal and external, are shaping your thoughts, emotions, and decisions in ways you don't even realize? Welcome to the dark side of human psychology. What they don't teach you. Imagine this. You meet someone who seems incredibly charming. They say all the right things, make you feel special, and you instinctively trust them. But months later, you realize they were manipulating you all along. Or maybe you've fallen for a marketing trick, buying something you didn't need only to wonder later why you made that decision. The truth is, human psychology isn't just about motivation and happiness. It has a much darker side. There are psychological tactics used by cult leaders, con artists, and even corporations to influence and control people. There are cognitive biases that make us believe lies, habits that sabotage our success, and unconscious fears that dictate our actions. But here's the real question. How much of your mind is truly under your control? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the psychological forces most people don't even know exist. By the end of this video, you'll recognize these hidden influences, protect yourself from manipulation, and gain deeper self-awareness. This is knowledge they don't teach in school, but after today, you'll never see the world the same way again. So why should you care about the dark side of human psychology? Because whether you realize it or not, it affects you every single day. Think about how social media influences your emotions. Have you ever felt an unexplained sense of anxiety or FOMO, fear of missing out, after scrolling through Instagram or TikTok? That's not an accident. These platforms are designed using psychological principles, like variable reward systems, to keep you hooked. The same techniques that casinos use to make gamblers stay at slot machines are now being used to keep you endlessly scrolling. But it doesn't stop there. Have you ever wondered why people fall for scams, follow toxic leaders, or stay in abusive relationships? It's not because they're foolish. It's because their minds are being hijacked by psychological forces they don't even realize are at play. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, when our minds justify irrational or harmful behaviors just to maintain a sense of consistency. Dr. Robert Cialdini, author of Influence. The Psychology of Persuasion explains that people are wired to comply with authority, trust those who appear confident, and conform to group behavior, even when it goes against their own interests. This is why cults, dictatorships, and even unethical corporations can manipulate people so effectively. And here's where it gets even scarier. Your own brain can betray you. There are self-sabotaging habits, unconscious biases, and deep-seated fears that shape your behavior without your permission. From the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people overestimate their competence, to the negativity bias, where our brains focus on threats more than opportunities. These mental glitches affect your success, relationships, and even happiness. But here's the good news. Once you understand these hidden forces, you can break free from them. In this video, we'll explore the most powerful and dangerous psychological tricks that control you and how to fight back. Because knowledge isn't just power, it's freedom. Let's dive into the dark side of human psychology. The hidden forces that manipulate your thoughts, emotions, and decisions. By the end of this section, you'll recognize these tactics, defend yourself from them, and even learn how they can be used for good. First, let's talk about manipulation tactics. The psychological tricks used by cult leaders, con artists, and even everyday people to control others. One of the most powerful is gaslighting. This is when someone makes you doubt your own perception of reality. They deny things they've said, twist facts, and make you feel like you're the problem. Over time, the victim starts to question their own sanity, making them easier to control. A famous real-world example? The infamous case of Charles Manson. He convinced his followers that the world was against them, rewrote their reality, and turn them into loyal followers willing to commit horrific acts. How? He used isolation, emotional manipulation, and intermittent reinforcement, rewarding them with praise one moment, then tearing them down the next. But you don't need to be in a cult to experience this. Have you ever had a boss, partner, or friend who made you feel guilty for things you knew weren't your fault? That's a subtle form of psychological control. Next, let's talk about cognitive biases, the mental shortcuts that trick you. One of the most dangerous is the authority bias, our tendency to obey authority figures without question. In the famous Milgram experiment, people were instructed to deliver what they believed were painful electric shocks to others. Most participants obeyed, even when they were uncomfortable, just because an authority figure told them to. This explains why people follow corrupt leaders, trust misleading news, or believe in conspiracy theories. Our brains are wired to trust those in power even when they don't deserve it. Then there's the confirmation bias, the reason why people refuse to change their opinions, even when faced with facts. Once we believe something, our brains filter out information that contradicts it. That's why debates about politics, religion, or even diets can feel impossible. No one wants to believe they're wrong. But the scariest cognitive bias? The illusion of control. We like to believe we're in control of our decisions, but in reality, most of our choices are driven by subconscious factors. Studies show that people make purchasing decisions based on emotions, not logic. Even something as simple as a red sale tag can trigger a psychological response that makes you more likely to buy, whether you need the item or not. Now, let's move on to emotional manipulation, the ways people and companies play on your feelings. Ever heard of the scarcity effect? It's why phrases like limited time offer or only 3 left in stock make you panic buy. Marketers exploit our fear of loss because studies show we feel the pain of losing something twice as strongly as the pleasure of gaining it. Then there's love bombing, a tactic often used by narcissists. They overwhelm you with affection, attention, and gifts early on, making you feel special. But once they have you hooked, they slowly withdraw their affection, creating a cycle where you chase the highs they once gave you. This is how toxic relationships and even some companies trap people into dependency. A perfect example: the way some brands market luxury items. They create exclusivity, making you feel like you're part of an elite group. You're not just buying a product, you're buying status. And once you're in, you keep chasing that validation. Finally, let's discuss how your own mind betrays you. One major flaw in human psychology is negativity bias, our tendency to focus more on bad experiences than good ones. This is why one insult can ruin your day, even if you received 10 compliments. It's also why fear-based news spreads faster than positive stories. And then there's self-sabotage. Have you ever procrastinated on something important even when you knew it would hurt you? That's often because of imposter syndrome, the subconscious belief that you're not good enough, so you delay success to avoid being exposed as a fraud. This happens to even the most talented people, from CEOs to artists. But here's the biggest truth about the dark side of psychology. It's not always evil. The same psychological principles that manipulate people can also be used for good. Understanding these tactics can help you resist them, make better decisions, and even become more persuasive in your own life. In the next section, we'll discuss how you can apply this knowledge to protect yourself, and even use some of these insights for personal growth. Now that you know the dark side of human psychology, how can you use this knowledge to protect yourself and even improve your life? Let's break it down into 3 key strategies. 1. Recognizing manipulation in real time. The first step to defending yourself is awareness. When someone tries to manipulate you, whether it's a toxic friend, a sales pitch, or a social media ad, ask yourself, am I being pressured? Is this playing on my emotions? For example, if someone is using gaslighting, don't argue. Keep records of conversations to confirm reality for yourself. If a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. A practical exercise. Next time you see an ad, stop and analyze it. Is it using scarcity, authority, or emotional appeal? Once you start noticing these tricks, they lose their power over you. 2. Overcoming cognitive biases. Your brain is wired to take shortcuts, but you can reprogram it. To fight confirmation bias, expose yourself to opposing viewpoints. Read books or watch videos from people with different perspectives. Challenge your beliefs by asking, what if I'm wrong? To counter negativity bias, practice gratitude. Studies show that writing down 3 positive things daily can rewire your brain to focus on good experiences instead of dwelling on the bad. 3. Using psychological tactics for good. Not all psychological tricks are harmful. Some can make you more persuasive and confident. Want to be more influential? Use the authority effect by dressing and speaking with confidence. Want to be more likable? Use reciprocity. Giving compliments or small favors makes people more likely to help you in return. Understanding these psychological forces doesn't just help you protect yourself. It allows you to navigate the world with more awareness, confidence, and control. The human mind is powerful, but it's also vulnerable. As we've seen, hidden psychological forces shape our decisions, emotions, and behaviors in ways we don't always recognize. From manipulation tactics to cognitive biases, understanding these forces is the first step to taking back control. Now that you know how gaslighting, authority bias, and emotional triggers work, you can start noticing them in your everyday life. The next time someone tries to pressure you into a decision, step back and ask yourself, am I being influenced without realizing it? The more aware you become, the harder it is for others to manipulate you. But don't just stop at protecting yourself. Use this knowledge to your advantage. Apply psychological principles to strengthen your confidence, improve your relationships, and make smarter choices. Knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is life-changing. Now, I have a challenge for you. Which psychological trick surprised you the most today? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this video eye-opening, make sure to like and subscribe for more content on psychology and human behavior. Remember, the world is full of hidden influences, but once you understand them, you're no longer controlled by them. Stay aware, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next video.